Hello everyone and welcome to another most exciting game from the FIDE Grand Prix 2019. As you know, some of the games went into tiebreaks as two of the classical games were drawn, such is the case in the match between Hikaru Nakamura and Teimour Radjabov. Their two classical games ended in a draw, so now they're playing the 25-minute rapid game. Also two games, and then if that's drawn, then they're going into 10-minute rapid games and so on until Armageddon is on the board. So without further ado, let's check it out. And we also do have a nice photo of the venue if you're interested in that. I don't know if you've seen it. So this is the venue where the players are playing in Moscow. There you have it. Radjabov brawling it out with Nakamura, and young Krzysztof Duda with Wesley So, as they also have drawn their classical games. And there you have it, a lot of people in the audience. You can see that it's pretty crowded in there. So as I said, let's check it out. Nakamura has the white pieces and he opens with d4 with knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to f3, and of course we have the queen's gambit declined, it's d5. Knight to c3, bishop to e7, with bishop to g5, and now h6, pushing the bishop back, bishop to h4, and now d captures on c4. White plays e3, prepares to recapture the gambited pawn with bishop captures on c4, and black takes this opportunity to strike in the center with c5. With bishop captures on c4, c captures on d4 now, knight captures on d4, and here both players just castle. And here bishop to d7, the standard move in this position. It is the most often played move in this position. The bishop will go to, the knight will be developed to c6, maybe then if knight captures, this bishop will assume this excellent diagonal. And here, there are a few games in the database where queen to b3 was played, and there are a few moves where queen to e2 was played. Most notable game with queen to b3 is Lokman Veli versus Viswanathan Anand in last year's Bundesliga, which ended in a draw. But here Nakamura goes for queen to e2. He has a different plan. We have knight to c6, hoping for this exchange. Rook f to d1, nicely developing the rook on the same file that the queen occupies. So queen to b6. We have knight back to f3, not allowing this exchange on d4, and now comes rook f to d8. Black also wants to counter white's rook on the d file. The queen nicely defends the b2 pawn, if you were wondering about that. We have e4 by white, and this is the only move that has been played in this position, since this is not a new position. We have bishop to e8, offering a trade of rooks, and now comes e5. And here, this position has been reached before, twice actually. In the 2003, two games were played in 2003 in the Chicago Open between Alexander Shabalov and Gregory Kaidanov, where knight to h7 was played, and white was able to win both of these games. But here we have knight to d7 by Radjabov, and it is a new move. So it is now, as of move 15, that we have a completely new game on our hands. So we have bishop captures on e7, knight captures on e7, and now Nakamura takes this opportunity to gain control of the d file with this very nice rook lift. Rook to d6, rook 8 to d1 is being prepared, and black has to react as his queen is under attack. So queen to a5, you want to keep an eye on this diagonal, as of course when Nakamura plays rook 8 to d1, which he does, now you will be able to at some point move the knight, and your rook will be nicely protected. Knight to f5, Radjabov pushes Nakamura's rook back with knight 6 to d2, and now knight to f8. Just offering a rook trade, and if white were to go for this, you don't really gain anything, just captures, and you've really just solved the black's problems of what to do with the rooks, especially with what to do with rook on a8. So here Nakamura plays bishop to d3, he says we're just gonna keep the tension here, and now if you go rook 8 to c8, it is a possibility to develop the rook this way, but then white has a very clear a course of action. Bishop captures on f5, and now after the rooks are traded, rook captures, knight captures, e captures on f5, now you get knight to c4, it comes with an attack on the queen, and you also get this very nice d6 square, so you don't want to allow this. After something like queen to a6, you are coming to d6, and then after, let's see, queens are traded off, you can go rook d8, but then just f4, you can even solidify in the center, and white will just have a very, very comfortable game. So Radjabov, instead of developing the rook this way, first he goes bishop to c6, just grabbing hold of this very nice diagonal, but now Nakamura goes bishop to e4. Now he does offer a trade of rooks, We have rook captures on d2, rook captures on d2, and now if you go rook to d8, then Nakamura has this possibility of just trading. Bishop captures, pawn captures, and then playing against black's two isolated pawns on the queen side. Radjabov isn't interested in this. He goes rook to c8, just defending the bishop. Now the rook will be able to recapture if bishop captures, the bishop is played. With h4, preparing h5 and also stopping g5 from black. With a6, preparing b5 on the queen side, and now h5, just grabbing more space and really not allowing this knight to get into the game, maybe with knight to g6 to f4. With b5 and now a3. Just a nice move. Now the knight can move, the a2 pawn will not be a target, but also preventing b4. Bishop captures on e4 with queen captures on e4, and now comes queen to b6. Just getting the queen out of the way and waiting to see what white will do. And here, as you can see, the queen assumes this very nice diagonal. So here, there aren't any tricks at the moment, but, you know, for example, if the rook was on e2, then you could have something like knight to g3, and of course the pawn is pinned, you would lose material here. And even though there's no such tactic just yet, Nakamura just plays king to h2, you know, better be safe than sorry. And now we have queen to a7, preparing rook to c7 to really grab hold of the 7th rank. Queen to d3, now grabbing hold of the d file and also freeing the e4 square for the knight. Now the plan is knight to e4, and Nakamura wants to bring this knight over to d6, which will in fact be a monster knight, or black will be forced to capture it, and then white will just recapture with the pawn and have this beautiful passed pawn already on d6. We have rook to c7 by Radjabov, and now comes knight to e4 as planned. He wants to go over to d6. We have rook to d7, challenging white's queen, and now of course knight to d6. And here, like we said, you will either leave the knight to be a monster knight on d6, or after captures, white will get a very nice pass pawn on d6. So first we have queen to b6. But here Nakamura just plays g4, forces the knight to move, and now you can either play knight to e7 or capture. Those are your options really. And if you go knight to e7, then white has a couple of options. He can just keep the knight there, play queen d4, maybe trade queens, or he can even try g5, start an attack on the king side. Say knight f5, captures, and then either decide what to do, try to play an attacking game, or just play queen d4, trade queens, and claim that his position is better due to the monster knight on d6. So Radjabov doesn't like knight to e7. He captures immediately. We have knight captures on d6, e captures on d6, and now we have f6, taking away the e5 square from white's knight. It's very important. F6, and now comes knight to h4. You've taken away one square from the knight, but by playing f6 you also allowed the g6 square to be occupied by white's knight. So knight to h4, we have king to f7, and now just f4. And now if you look at this, this knight isn't really going anywhere. You can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here, you can go here, but you're not really going anywhere from there. So by the looks of it, you know, Radjabov's dark knight isn't about to rise anytime soon. So king to e8, and now we have f5. Of course, Nakamura wants to open up the position. He wants to, if this pawn captures, then rook to e1 will be very strong. Just, you know, a lot of options here. And here there are a couple of moves you could play. So first I'll just let you to pause the video and you know, feel free to decide how you would continue this game from black's perspective. I'll give you a couple of seconds, as it's very, you know, it's really a critical position. For those of you who were able to defend here, you are just an excellent defender. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, best idea here is queen to c5. Just waiting to see what white will do, and now white has to decide what to do here. Best idea is to go knight to g6, just trading there, but the thing is, and the point is, if you capture here, which is the main idea, knight captures, and now you don't really have a good follow-up. Now you can either go knight to g6 and continue the attack, or if rook to e1, then you no longer control the d6 square, then rook captures on d6 will be very strong, the knight is defended, everything works out for black. So after this f5 move, queen to c5 was the best idea, but Radjabov played not pawn captures, not queen to c5, but rather he advanced the pawn, and it seems like the best course of action for black, as you don't want the e file opened, but it is also the move that loses the game. So here we have some nice photos of a couple of younger members of the audience. Here you can see this little gentleman here cannot believe what Radjabov just did. He pushed e5, and also we have this little gentleman here. He had to drop his shades to check if Radjabov really did play e5, as it is such a wonderful losing move. But again, feel free to pause the video here and try to find how to take advantage of this e5 blunder from Teimour Radjabov. I'll give you a couple of seconds, as it is a very nice positional idea. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you are an excellent finder of nice positional ideas. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, as usual, the best move is to centralize the queen. If you can, even if you don't know why you're doing it, you should always centralize your queen. Queen d5, and now there are so many threats, black will simply not be able to take care of all of them. Just to give you an example, if black just plays something, let's say like a5, then the idea is knight to g6. And now, after knight captures, you will play h captures, and now notice that the pawns here are really controlling all the squares in front of the black king. There's already the threat of just queen to g8 checkmate, so to prevent this you would have to go king to f8, but then you get rook to c2, threatening rook to c8. And now after the queen defends this, now you go rook to c6, just defending the d6 pawn for the moment. Next you're going to play queen to c5, and then you will want to win with rook to c8. If queen to b7, getting the queen out of the way, now queen c5, and after king to e8, which is the only defense basically against rook here, you will be able to block here, but now just rook to b6, and the black queen doesn't really have all that many moves. If queen to a7, then you play queen captures on b5, and black is now without a move. You can't really play anything, the rook is pinned. If you move the king, you're going to lose the rook. If you just move the king here, then you're getting checkmated after rook to b8. If you move the queen upwards, then again, you're just going to lose the queen, and you're getting checkmated very quickly. So there is nothing you can do here with the black pieces. So this is the idea, and what problems lie in how to defend with the black pieces here. So here, Radjabov tried a different idea. He played queen to e3. His idea is, okay, white can go whatever he wants to go. Maybe I will be able to grab some perpetual checking ideas after let's say, queen to f4 check. But Nakamura has it all figured out. He goes knight to g6 all the same. So for the moment, you can't go to f4. That's just taken. But Radjabov captures with h captures, and now comes queen to f4 check. So let's see what Nakamura had in mind. We have king to h3, now comes queen to f1 check, king to h4, and now you don't really have a good follow-up. If you play rook captures here, white will just ignore you. But even if you try this, queen to h1 doesn't really do anything. If queen to h1, you can just defend king g3, and now there are no good follow-ups. If here, you can just block, and you will eventually run out of checks, and white will just win the game. On the other hand, you don't even have to do it. If rook captures, you can just go queen f7 check, king d8, and now rook captures, which makes a lot more sense. But even if Nakamura was to play a dangerous game and allow some checks, it wouldn't really work. So here Radjabov played queen to e1 check instead. We have king to h5, and it was in this position that Teimour Radjabov resigned the game on move 41, as there is nothing more he can do. Any move you play, let's say you go a5 or something, just queen to g8 is checkmate. There's nowhere to go. The pawns really do a nice job of preventing the king from escaping. You can't escape with the king. If you move the king, then if you move the king, any any check will work. Queen to g8 or queen to a8. Again, the pawn really doing a nice job here, and well, any other moves are really not working. Here you could actually try rook captures on d6, and of course if queen captures, then white is in trouble. Queen to h2 will lead to checkmate, as after queen captures, the black king has nowhere to go. But like in the other line, after rook captures, white will just ignore you. You can go queen to f7 check, and after king moves, you will very quickly deliver checkmate. We have king to c8, queen d7 check, king here, rook b6 check, and then queen b7 will be checkmate. So after king to h5, Radjabov of course did not attempt such a silly line against Nakamura, as you know he respects him and chess too much. But you know, if you're playing like a game that's not very important, or a bullet or a blitz game, then you should try anything to you know, not lose the game. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Excellent game by Hikaru Nakamura, and as they say, without error there can be no brilliancy. So here we had the error, which is the e5. Just seems like a very nice idea, but it simply doesn't work. Queen d5, just a beautiful centralizing move that allows White to win in any way. Well, pretty much that he wants. And here we also have a nice photo of Nakamura and Radjabov after the game, giving interviews, analyzing their game, saying what was what. And I didn't catch the live coverage, but if you have, and I'm sure it's available somewhere online, if you're interested, you can also check that out. If some of you have a link to that, feel free to also post that in the description, in the comments below. I will pin it, give it a heart so everyone can see. So yeah. I'm also very interested in your opinion if you've seen the Game of Thrones finale. What's your take on the show and on the entire 8th season? But do start with spoiler in the comments so you don't ruin it for everyone else. But yeah, that's the game. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Norman Hardin, Taras Karpiak, Clifford Dibble, Yaniv Shina, and Teimour Ismailov for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix 2019 and, of course, the Capablanca saga and checking up on your suggestions. Thank you all. Have an excellent rest of your day, and I will see you soon.